Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set up PySpark. So before we can set up PySpark, few things we need is first being this Apache Sparks library. We need to download the Apache Spark. We go to spark.apache.org, then select the release, right? Then choose the package type. You can choose Hadoop 3.3 later with Scala or without Scala, right? Either one of that should work. My personal preference is going with only Hadoop, right? And you can install the Scala differently, right? Or separately, you can say, right? Then click on this download link and make sure to extract that into a folder, which should look something like this. Next thing, we will also need to download and extract Hadoop, right? So we will go to hadoop.apache.org, and from there you will be also downloading Hadoop and then extracting that folder, right? After this, we can go ahead and download Scala. Go to install, right? And then find Windows version, right? And here you'll find on this page the Windows installer, which you can extract and run to install the Scala, right? Similarly for Hadoop, we have this release which you can download from binary section. So binary, when you extract, it should look something like this. So we have Hadoop binary and Spark, right? So we have these two things. Also we have Scala, right? Once you install, you can open terminal, right? Here we'll have to check things one by one, but before that we need the most important thing, which is Java. So if you go to oracle.com/java, here you can find Java downloads. You can check for JDK, choose for Windows and installer, right? Basically you'll just have to run the installer. Also, once you install Java, make sure to install python.org. Go to this website, install Python by going to downloads, Windows, and there you will find the latest version, which is 3.10.7 at this time. In near future this could be 4 or 4.2, something like that. Go with the recent version, right? Once you have these two things set up, you will have to open your command prompt of PowerShell, type in java --version. That should show you the recent version, right? Also for Python, you can go with version as well. As you can see, both of these things are installed, right? Now that we have Python installed, also Java installed, we'll need to configure Hadoop and Apache Spark. Now what we can do is WinUtils from cdarlint, right? So search for cdarlint's WinUtils, right? And here check for Hadoop's 3.2 and then download this WinUtils, right? Which will have to copy into Hadoop's bin folder, right? So find the WinUtils from cdarlint, WinUtils, then Hadoop 3.2. This exe should be in Hadoop bin, right? Once we have that set up, we will be setting up environment variables. So first thing is opening environment variable. Right now within user variable, you'll have to set things up for Java, right? So I have Java underscore home, path to JDK. Then we have Spark underscore home, right, which is pointing to this directory, right? Next thing, I will have to also set Hadoop home within system variables, right? Same way up to your Hadoop directory. Now we have Hadoop setup, Java setup. Then we also have our path setup for all these Hadoop bin and Sparks bin folder. These two also set, right? So once all of this is set, next step would be to open the PowerShell in admin mode, right? Okay, now that PowerShell is open as admin, we can go and type in directory D, and here I want to type in pip install PySpark, right? If you go to pip page for PySpark, you see PySpark 3.3.0 pip install. You can simply copy this as well and then simply right click on your PowerShell. That also works, right? So what we can do from this point onwards is simply hit enter. Okay, you can also skip this step because we already have Spark, then bin, and then PySpark, right? But we want to see the pip version installed, and we will see whether it installs globally. So as you can see, this PySpark will have entire setup that we have just done into one setup, right? So it will be downloading all of that and it will be pointing out to a specific path as well. So whenever we type in PySpark, it should go to this particular global option instead of the local option that we set up earlier, right? So either one would do. We will go through this particular option as well. Let this one complete. Okay, once the installation is done, you will see that your installation is successful. Next thing, we can open new tab. Now what we can do here is we can move to another drive. Sorry. Now here I'm going to simply type in PySpark. Another way to call for PySpark is to go to Spark directory, then bin, and then PySpark. Now that we have globally installed PySpark using pip install, we can run this and hit enter. As you can see, it has called for local Python installation and it will point us out to a particular port which we can access. So you will get Spark message and session here. One more thing, you will also find this particular web UI on this URL, which is localhost. In my case, the name now comes from computer name, and 4040 is the port that we need to access, right? So let me open Edge, paste this path, and here you see PySpark shell, and will show you the user, uptime, event timeline, then you have stages tab, then storage, environment, and executors, right? So if you can see this, that means you have PySpark properly set up, right? You can also take a look at your PySpark shell, right? You don't have to open this from admin command prompt or PowerShell with admin level privileges. You can open normal command prompt and terminal and open by simply typing in PySpark. Considering this is global now, it should take that particular version and create one session for you, right? And then you can choose to open this particular URL on localhost 4040. Just in case if you don't see this particular UI, you can go to 4041 or 42, etc. In your case, this port can be entirely different port because this is assigned by PySpark, so you'll have to experiment with this. But at the end, if you see this, that means you have PySpark enabled. Now you can access the web UI options.